so don't lose that. There we go. Every single one of these teeth is broken or chipped. So here's the sliding gear shaft, and there's the new bearing. I went to my friend Mikey's house. He has a nice arbor press that we use to press off the old bearing and press on the new one. I'll put a couple pictures here. Now, forgetting anything. So as far as parts for this transmission, here's all the part numbers I have written out. Up here are the parts for the gears. So I found, here's the range primary gear. So that's the gear that actually goes in between for the high-low. And eBay, it was 52 bucks. Then the range idler, that's that big gear with the 2 sets of teeth, 62 bucks from Steiner. And then you can pause the screen here. So there's the left-hand sliding gear shaft bearing, and then I have the John Deere number. But getting bearings for tractors, the John Deere number is pretty much useless. You have to find the bearing manufacturer number. So online, I found this nice PDF that I printed out that has all the John Deere numbers cross-referenced to different manufacturers. So, I mean, they have everything. Water pump bearings, wheel bearings. So you can go online and find that PDF. Then I've got, so this is the roller for the left hand of that input shaft. This is the one that I couldn't find. I could only find it for like 150 bucks. This is the one that's supposed to have the snap ring in it. So then here's the roller and the cup, and the roller and the cup for the 2 countershafts. And then this is the straight roller for that range idler, which I could not find this bearing anywhere. I have the Hyatt number, the rollway number, the cat number, even the burless number. Couldn't find any of them. Then here's just some gasket numbers. I didn't end up buying any new gaskets. I just used sealant. So everything has to go in from this side. First thing that can go on is this over-under gear. And then this gear, make sure this bevel is facing the right direction. No. Then next is this spacer. Make sure one side is wider than the other side. The wider side should face the flywheel. Then is this gear, which it does not matter which direction this gear goes on because it's just straight cut teeth. They're not pre-beveled or anything. And that's the gear that engages with the differential. Now I'm not sure which way this gear goes, so I'm going to refer to my picture. Alright, so this gear faces this way. Let's start trying to engage them. And then this spacer faces this way. Just have to get this last gear to There we go. Now I can push it the rest of the way through. No, it's in oil. Now, since we have 2 tapered roller bearings, we have to set the end play, and that's done with shims on this right-hand bearing cap. So when I took it apart, it had these 4 shims, and it had a very, very thin gasket between each of the shims, as well as one thicker gasket. So I'm going to install it with no gaskets, and we'll see what the play is. So this shaft does not spin very easily at all. So I can tell that there's no play. So I'm gonna have to make a couple gaskets and then we'll come back to this. So I cut one thick and one thin paper gasket. So let's see how it is like that. So already the shaft spins over a lot easier. Now let's get the dial indicator hooked up. In the manual it says lightly pry. According to the manual, it should be 1 to 4 thousandths. Looks like we're getting about 2, so perfect. And when we add that sealant, it's gonna add just a little bit. So I'm gonna use this Permatex Forma gasket, mostly because it's just what I have sitting around. I like the brush a lot better than the ones that come in a tube. Alright, I got sealant between all of those shims and gaskets. I'll tighten it down more a little later when the sealant fully dries. Now we can install this nut on this side while we wait for that sealant to dry. First, let's clean up that thread right there. So here's this new input shaft bearing. It was hard to find this one. I could not find one with the snap ring bearing, with the snap ring groove in it. The part number on the listing was exactly the same. It had the TG at the end, which denotes the groove for the snap ring. But this one does not have a groove, so I'm just going to use this retaining compound, and this groove is not that critical anyway. First gear to go on should be this one, with the shift collar facing the clutch side. Then this gear with the shift collar facing the flywheel side. And then this one with the shift collar facing the flywheel side as well. Now, need to put this bearing on the end, which is this bearing, which would go in here. So just a quick side note, that bearing is supposed to have the shield facing out and the inside be packed with wheel bearing grease according to the manual. There we go. And I'm pretty sure everything should just move. Yeah, that bearing should just slide nice and easy into that input shaft. Now back to the flywheel side. We can install this brand new Fafner bearing that holds the input shaft. Now we have to install this snap ring, which these are usually fun. It's like blinking back and forth. Because it's like blinking back and forth. No. That means it has like an error. Alright, finally got this snap ring in. Alright, so here's the new and old. Let's see. And it's fine to hit bearing races with a punch. If anything, it's better because you don't have to worry about brass anytime you hit something with a brass punch or a brass hammer, a little bit of the brass chips off and that can get stuck in the bearings. I'd say that's good. And the transmission works. Wheels turning. Alright, it's time to put this 4th and 6th gear on the sliding gear shaft. It's the only gear on the sliding gear shaft that does not slide. This is keyed and it's a pretty tight press fit. The gear that slides is on the countershaft down here. So to overcome that press fit, I have the gear in the oven right now, heated up to 300 or 350 degrees. I'm gonna have to run out here pretty quick so the gear doesn't cool down. Alright, here we go. I think that's it. All right, the cover is on. The bolts are one click tight with the torque wrench. So I'm putting this video together, and for some reason I lost the videos putting all the shift forks in. So I'm going to talk about that right now. It's a little bit vague installing them, but the way I did it, I had this stuff all mixed up just in a box for a couple months before I put it back together, but I'll just talk through this diagram. So you can tell the difference between them based on how many notches they have, because that's where the detent engages to hold it in gear. And then also which side the notches are on. So right here, this big one is for the over-under drive. This is the first one to go in. And then you've got the notch here that keeps the shaft from rotating, because if those detent notches are on the bottom, then the detent's not going to engage. So you need to keep that shaft in line. That's what that notch is for. So this one has two, one for direct drive and one for underdrive. Then you want to put this this shift fork on, which is going to be, you've got one for reverse, one for neutral, and one for first gear. And then the next one is going to be, this one would be for third and fifth gear, I believe. Or second. This one would be for second and fifth gear. And then the last one, so you have to take this set screw out and slide the part that the shifter engages with off of this shaft. And this is for fourth and sixth gear. And this one goes in last. The other thing you're going to have to do is, so see these screws, the casting of the transmission is threaded. So these screws can move back and forth. And then this bolt locks the shaft up against the screw. So if the detent is here and the shift fork isn't holding the gear all the way in line with the other gear, then what you can do is adjust that screw, and it will move the whole shaft backwards or side to the left or to the right, so that you can have full gear contact. And having the gears, if you don't have the gears fully engaged like that, then it can wear on one side and then cause you to start popping out of gear. I would definitely recommend buying one of these service manuals before tearing into a big project like this. You could probably find it online as a PDF. A lot of times what I do is most of these manuals, I just find PDFs of them and then go to school and print them out with that printer, because they're like 200 pages. But all right, back to the video. Now I want to get some fluid in there. All right, the oil I run in these tractors is 85W140. Provides plenty of lubrication while being thick enough to not leak past the old seals and gaskets. Oh. Stuff is thick. All right, this sealant has had about a day to cure. So far, there's no leaks underneath the tractor, so I'm gonna tighten down all these bolts, and then we can start putting more stuff on. All right, now let's start putting the clutch together on this side. I'm going to be using Loctite 518 again. Instead of a gasket. Now I want to put the transmission cover on, then we can put this clutch together while we wait for that sealant to harden.
Actually not windy, 85 is a football game.
Back to the clutch. First thing, friction disc. It's a friction disc. Don't forget there's gonna be a timing mark on this clutch drive disc, as well as one on the crankshaft. Make sure you get those lined up because that drive disc has to be balanced right. Now get this big bolt and washer. It doesn't give a torque spec in the manual, it just says tighten it down a lot. So we're going to do that as well as some red Loctite. Tight. Alright, I think that should be good. Next is this sliding friction disc. And then sliding drive disc. Go. Get these castle nuts. You gotta have castle nuts here. Alright, I got the clutch adjusted. Pretty much to adjust this, you feel how much force it takes to engage the clutch. So if it's too tight, if it takes way too much force to tighten that, to engage the lever, you can just back off these castle nuts. If it's too loose, tighten them down a little. And you're going to want to adjust it, drive it around a little bit, and then readjust it, and then you should be set. Now let's install this brake 5 on it. I already have some NECs left on these screws. Definitely would recommend putting NECs on these.
Need for the board.
There, it goes through all the gears a lot better than it did before, so.
Because you have.
Hopefully it actually drives. Now I'm getting ready to put the flywheel back on. So that is where that notch is, and then that is where the screw is going to go because that groove is deeper. You can see that's where the notch is right there. Alright, now that our flywheel's on, got 2 brand new bolts with the square head. Now we can tighten these down. So let's make sure this is seated all the way up. Alright, now we can tighten these down. Now we can put the steering back together. Had to pull this steering shaft out to get the steering pedestal off. So just put this cover back on. Already got plenty of grease in there. Now for the best part of this whole ordeal, we have to slide this tire back in. Go another 2 inches. Alright, I just stole the battery out of the Alice Chalmers. I missed that